US Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen's visit to South Africa is being watched with keen interest. One aspect of her trip here will be to visit a conservation park to highlight the work the US is doing to combat illicit wildlife trafficking. She'll also be meeting Finance Minister Enoch Godongwana and the Reserve Bank Governor Lesetja Kganyago. Some analysts believe that a level of reassurance around the Reserve Bank's current mandate may form part of the discussion, following talk around the ANC looking to amend it.
Because the sovereignty, the independence of that mandate, to my mind, is absolutely critical to one of South Africa's standout features in global policy, that the South African Reserve Bank is world-class in terms of the administration, management of the monetary system.
After years of neglect by the Trump administration, one former US diplomat says Yellen's visit is symbolic of the US's move to reset relations with the African continent.
This is a re-establishment of what was previously seen to be a kind of connection. You can recall that just last year, right at the end, in December, the Biden administration convened a summit with dozens of African heads of state, heads of government, in which the basic thrust of the argument of the case was this is a partnership rather than a one-way connection.
Foreign investors like the US are keen to hear how South Africa is dealing with its challenges, especially the current situation of persistent power blackouts, with the government's fiscal policy likely to be topical in the pending talks.
It is absolutely imperative that the country gets out of the business of funding a pay-as-you-go public service and gets into the business of building infrastructure, gross domestic fixed investment, where a critical component, the US, just ahead of this visit, the US has been warning South Africa, US businesses based in South Africa, of the fragility of the energy system.
The US Treasurer will be visiting the Ford Motor Company just outside Pretoria, a facility that employs over 4,000 people. It plans to be carbon neutral by 2024. She's also set to visit the coal mining region of Mpumalanga on Friday. The US is keen to underline its commitment to South Africa's just energy transition. It's among the funders of the program, along with some EU states, as well as the United Kingdom. The issue of climate change is expected to be a significant feature on the agenda.
The key focus really of the trip is likely to be around the US trying to maintain a diplomatic and economy diplomacy foothold within Africa on the just energy transition in particular. Hence, Yellen is going to visit key projects in Mpumalanga on the just energy transition, and there'll certainly be a lot of negotiations with South Africa asking for more grant money from the US.
Brooks Spector believes the US views its African counterparts as equal partners in potential agreements, citing the African Growth and Opportunity Act, which is a US law that allows many African countries to export their goods to the United States duty-free, as a case in point.
It opens up vast spaces in a very large market for private interests in Africa to send their products to the United States for customers. South Africa has been particularly good at making use of this, even if it doesn't make headlines, because it doesn't simply export raw materials to the United States. It actually exports finished commodities, value-added products, car seats, automobiles, other manufactured goods.
Spector suggests that it's a good idea for the African Union to do better in negotiating as a bloc on certain issues with the US, as it would likely have more clout than when countries negotiate with the economic powerhouse on a one-on-one basis, noting that there's not been a significant move by African nations to ensure that the AGOA agreement is extended by the US Congress beyond its deadline of 2025. Nompumelelo Siziba, SABC News, Johannesburg.